everybody. I welcome you all to the new lecture and the new class of world history. And I would like to introduce once again the concept which we are dealing. So we are reading the concepts and themes of world history, different themes of world history. And in this context, we have seen the origin of human, evolution of human, and also we have seen the Mesopotamian civilization, features of the Mesopotamian civilization. Today, in this context, related to the concepts of world history, themes of world history, we are going to have a look about the features, the characteristics, the important points of a very expanded empire in the ancient times, which is known as the Roman Empire. So in today's lecture, we are going to deal with the concepts, with the features, characteristics, points related to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, as I say, was expanded in almost three continents. The Northern Africa, also some parts of Europe, and the portion of some part of the, you can say, Asia, Europe and Africa. So Roman Empire was such an empire which was a vast empire, okay, and also the Roman Empire previously was a republic. In ancient times, in more ancient times, it was a republic. But here we'll try to study about the Roman Empire in two parts, and the dividing line between the early Roman Empire, you can say, and the latter Roman Empire was 3rd century AD. So the time period of 3rd century AD is very important while we study the facts, or while we discuss the concepts about Roman Empire. The period of 3rd century AD is very important because it is a dividing line which divides the Roman Empire into, you can say, early Roman Empire and latter Roman Empire, and we can see different changes in the, you can say, the governance, the living style, the culture, each and every aspect of society, trade, commerce, slavery. These all concepts we will see, but we need to know that this dividing line, 3rd century AD, is very important. So when we when we try to discuss the Roman Empire, we will try to compare it with another empire, that was the Iranian Empire, the Persian Empire. The Iranian Empire and the Roman Empire were two important empires of that period. So the two important empires of that period, that the Roman Empire and the Iranian Empire, did they have something in common, or was there differences between them? So this thing we will need to know, and this is the thing we have to keep in mind, that these two empires were, you can say, contemporary empires, were different in their you can say, build up, society, culture, each and everything. So we'll have to keep an eye on what were the differences, or what were the common characteristics of these two empires. So first of all, when we look at the map of Europe, and when you look at the map of Europe and Africa, the dividing factor, or the dividing line, you can say, not line, there is a water body which separates these two continents, Europe and Africa. This is the Mediterranean region, Mediterranean Sea. So the Mediterranean Sea was the region which divided the continents of Europe and Asia. And also, not Asia, Africa, Europe and Africa. So, in the north of the Mediterranean Sea, to the north of the Mediterranean Sea and to the south of the Mediterranean Sea, that is in the regions of, you can say, Africa, northern Africa, there was a stronghold of the Roman Empire. Whereas when you see to the south of the Caspian Sea and some parts of Asia, there was the stronghold, it was the stronghold of Iranian Empire which extended till Afghanistan also. So these are the geographical, you can say, these are the geographical locations where these two empires had their stronghold. But as we focus on the Roman Empire, we have to focus on the Roman Empire, we have to look deeply into the Roman Empire. So we'll try to keep a comparison. We'll try to keep it as a comparison between the Roman Empire and the Iranian Empire. So the Roman Empire was quite expanded, and you can say it transformed from a republic to a monarchy when the first emperor, you can say Augustus, the first emperor, he tried to establish an empire where he also tried that the power of the empire should stay in the hands of the king. This was the main motive of creating an empire which Augustus had, to keep the powers of or the administration or the final decision in the hands of the emperor. Because before that, when Rome was a republic, there was a strong position, or there was the administration was in the hands of the senators. Senate was a body which had the control on the administration of the Roman Empire when it was a republic. Or the Roman in the Roman constituencies, the Senate has a very important position. So when Augustus created this empire, he tried to keep the power in his hand, but also at the same time he did not reject the senators, because he tried to keep them, you can say, he tried to keep them engaged in the administration to have their support. Also, when the Roman Empire was created into a, you can say, a monarchy, so every monarchy needs an army. Here we will have a look at the Iranian Empire. The Iranian Empire did not have a standing army or a paid army. The Iranian Empire, there was a forced conscription type method where you have to give service in the army for at least 25 years. But in the Roman Empire, this was a very important feature of the Roman Empire, that it had a paid army. Okay. Now, also, it had a paid army, but the main fact that we need to know here is that the Roman Empire's army, when they were created, the senators headed them. Okay, and senators wanted to move back to the republic era, which they knew was not now possible. Okay, so they wanted to become a republic once more, but as they had a stronghold on the army, or they led the army sometimes, and also when their army was, as I have said, that it was a paid army, so there must have been some discontentment at different times if they were not paid at time, or if there was a revolt, or something else. So there was a clash. It is not so that the army was means in control, in total control of the, you can say, the ruler. Okay, there were some revolts, but the Iranian empire was altogether a different empire. Now also we need to know that the process of, you can say, there was a war of succession was there or not there. This is an important concept. So we don't see war of succession, but we also don't see that only the natural heir would become the new ruler, because after Augustus, Tiberius became the ruler. Tiberius was not the son of not the natural heir of, you can say, Augustus, but to keep this process of passing on the empire to other hands, Augustus adopted Tiberius and handed him the empire. Also, the Roman Empire was very vast empire. So the main thing that we need to know, that there were not many attempts to capture more and more positions, capture more and more empire into their own kingdom. But there were attempts of annexing some kingdoms under different rulers. The first of it was by Trajan. He was a ruler, Trajan, in around 110 or 12 AD. At around 112 or 112 AD, he tried to annex some empires, some different, you can say, areas into the Roman Empire. But his successors later on left it, because it was obviously a very large empire. There was no need to annex to keep, you can say, to expand your empire. But here we have to look at some facts, or we have to analyze some things. Like, if it was a big empire, if it was such a vast empire, so what was the way of administration? What was the source of revenue? How was this kingdom administered? This is very important. So the answer to this is hidden in the urbanization in different locations of the Roman Empire. Because what I want to say here is that the provinces or the countryside, you can say, regions were ruled indirectly with the help of the urban centers. The nobles who were located at the urban centers, they tried to have a hold upon the countryside areas or the regions which were located in far off regions. Okay, but we have to keep in mind that in whatsoever areas the people lived, or in whatsoever areas how far they were from the main central, you can say, central administration, but they were all under the guidance of the king. Okay, so there was a one king under whom different types of people under the Roman Empire, they were under a hand of a common king. Okay, now what are the things that we said that we will try to compare it with the Iranian Empire? So in the Iranian Empire, when the Parthians ruled, the Sassanids ruled, okay, so the Parthians and the Sassanids ruled on the Iranian Empire, and the people who were ruled by them were also Iranians. But you can see that in the Roman Empire, in the whole Roman Empire, in the vast Roman Empire, it was a diverse culture. Different types of people lived there. Different languages were spoken. But for the official purpose in the Roman Empire, the Greek language and the Latin language was used. So the Greek and Latin were the official languages used in the Roman Empire. But there was a diversity of people who lived in the empire under a king. So this was a very important feature. Now we'll try to see that previously before the establishment of the monarchy, you can say that Italy was a main center. Italy was a main region, and the Italians had a major control on the administration because the senators who tried to run the administration were mostly comprised of the Italian people. But slowly and gradually, when different areas came under the control of the Roman Empire, it was not so that only Italians had their, had their control on the Senate. Rather, the position of Italy disintegrated. The position of Italy, you can say, it degraded, and new people from new areas were entered in the, you can say, Senate. The Senate now became a diverse group of different people. Also, we have to keep in mind that there were different rulers in the coming time who tried to, you can say, take the control of the Senate, take the control from the Senate slowly and gradually to their hand. So this may have been a factor due to which they introduced new people in the Senate. Because if there is one group controlling the Senate, it would not have been possible for the emperor to pass on the power to him. However, he was he was the central position in the administration. The king, the emperor, was the central position in the administration. But to have a check on the power of the Senate, he needed to introduce diverse peoples in the Senate. So this is one thing. Also, when you see the main reason of the empire to prosper was the urban centers. The urban centers, like you can say the Macedonia and different regions of the Syria and many other regions, like you can say some Mesopotamian regions were also brought under the control of the Roman Empire. So these centers, when they developed as you can say urban centers, so it helped in the prosperity of trade and commerce of the Roman Empire, which helped it to become economically stable and a powerful empire of that region. Also, you need to know that from where do we get these informations? What are the main sources of these things about the Roman Empire? So the main sources of the Roman empires, you can say Roman Empire can be divided into three categories. The first one is the annals, or you can say the history of the past, which was written year after year, by different historians. And these historians were mainly the senators. This we need to keep in mind. The senators were the major role, they played the major role in writing these annals about the Roman Empire. Also, there were written documents. The second category was the written documents, which the historians study and they have a clear-cut view about the Roman Empire, or they try to relate the things that how the things came into existence from a republic to a monarchy, different rulers, the expansion of the empire, the trade and commerce and different things. Also, the monuments, buildings, seals, these are also very important. However, one more thing is interesting here, that the written documents were written on the leaves of papyrus tree. Papyrus tree was the major, you can say, writing material on which the writing was done. Also, when we study about, so from here we are studying from the, you can say, from the birth of Christ, okay, to the 6th, 7th century AD, we will study about the Roman Empire. And now in this period I said that the 3rd century AD, from here on, a major transformation began and some major changes were seen in the latter Roman Empire. Now, what were these reasons? What were the major changes in the Roman Empire which we have seen just now, and what are the changes that we will see after the 3rd century AD is very important. But for today, I would like to keep it as simple as possible, and it is like a introduction, brief introduction till the 3rd century AD about the establishment of the Roman Empire to becoming a monarchy from a republic, and the different things, different information that we have seen here, and from where did we get this information. These are the important things. Now in the next lecture we'll try to analyze the changes. We'll try to see the new characteristic features which were seen in the Roman Empire after the 3rd century AD, and what happened after the 3rd century AD, which is so important in the context of the Roman Empire. So in the next lecture we'll look after the changes, the effects, and the new, you can say, features which evolved in the Roman Empire, which is very important from the historical point of view. In these things we'll study about the slavery, the position of women, literacy, different things in the Roman Empire. So we'll meet in the next lecture. Till then, enjoy your life, study hard, and we'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.
अथ श्री महाभारत कथा।